Get out. Security. Escort this man out immediately, shouted Derek, the loan officer, his voice slicing through the tension in the room. David, the CEO of a successful financial institution, felt the weight of the moment as he slowly raised his hand to his face. He could see the security guards approaching, their hands hovering near their belts, ready to act. I only want to speak with a manager about my loan application, David replied calmly to Thomas, the bank manager standing nearby. I haven't raised my voice or acted in a disrespectful manner. You're just causing a disturbance, Derek insisted, his voice the only one elevated in the room. We don't give loans to frauds like you. Before David could respond, the security guard pushed him toward the exit. As he was being escorted out, something clicked in David's mind, a realization that would change everything. This narrative reveals the harsh reality of what happens when employees fail to recognize their own boss in his bank. Have you ever faced discrimination? We encourage you to share your story in the comments below. Let us know where you're tuning in from, and make sure to subscribe to see how these bank employees realize the monumental mistake they've made. David Johnson had built an impressive empire from nothing. Growing up as the son of working-class parents who had been denied loans multiple times while attempting to start their own business in the 1980s, he had vowed to make a difference when he eventually found success. Today, as the founder and CEO of Pinnacle Financial, which boasted over 200 branches nationwide, his name was emblazoned on buildings across the country. His story of rising from humble beginnings to a banking magnate was celebrated in business schools and featured in numerous magazines. Yet, on an ordinary Tuesday afternoon, David was not the powerful executive everyone recognized. Dressed in casual clothes, he was simply a man picking up a few items at a local convenience store in his old neighborhood. There was no tailored suit, no bodyguards, no luxury car waiting outside, just a man in jeans and a sweater grabbing some essentials. As he reached for a carton of milk, he overheard a conversation from the next aisle that sent a chill down his spine. I even tried Pinnacle, and they turned me down despite claiming to support the community, one man said, frustration etched in his voice. I did everything right and still got rejected, replied his companion. It's like they have a quota to fill, approve one black business owner and call it diversity. David froze. The carton of milk hovering in midair. His bank, the very institution he had dedicated his life to building, was being discussed in such a negative light. The weight of the moment settled heavily on his shoulders as he realized he had much to confront within his own organization. Returning to his office that evening, David sat in silence, staring at the framed mission statement that adorned his wall. Financial opportunity for all communities. The words, once a source of pride, now felt like a mocking reminder of his failures. His desk was cluttered with reports and statistics regarding loan approval rates and customer satisfaction surveys, all of which now seemed hollow and misleading. The conversations he had overheard earlier haunted him, raising doubts about the integrity of the very institution he had built. Sir, is everything okay? His assistant Lisa asked from the doorway, her brow furrowed with concern. David, usually vibrant and energetic, simply nodded, his mind racing. Cancel my meetings for tomorrow, he instructed quietly. All of them? She replied, surprised. Even the meeting with the Federal Reserve? Yes, all of them. I need to investigate this for myself, he murmured, more to himself than to her. The following morning found David in an unfamiliar apartment, sitting in front of a professional makeup artist, specializing in transformations. As the artist applied subtle changes to his appearance, new glasses, a different hairstyle, and clothing that didn't fit quite right, David felt a mix of anxiety and determination. This was not just an experiment, it was a chance to uncover the truth about how his bank treated its customers. After hours of preparation, the man who emerged looked nothing like the CEO known across the country. With a loan application in hand, David was ready to experience his bank from a completely different perspective. Little did he know, the revelations awaiting him would challenge everything he believed about his company. David stepped into the flagship branch of Pinnacle Financial, a towering symbol of success in the heart of the financial district. The gleaming glass and polished marble felt foreign to him as he adjusted his ill-fitting jacket for the final time. Nervously, he clutched his loan application, feeling the weight of the moment. This was the bank he had built, yet today, he was just another customer. As he entered, he noticed a well-dressed white man in his 40s being greeted warmly by Samantha, a senior customer service representative David recognized. Mr. Kensington, it's wonderful to see you again, she exclaimed, her smile radiant as she guided him through the lobby. David watched as Samantha's demeanor shifted to one of enthusiasm, making eye contact and engaging in small talk about his daughter's recent graduation from Harvard. In stark contrast, when David approached the reception desk, the atmosphere changed dramatically. Alicia, the receptionist, barely looked up from her computer before flatly asking, "Can I help you?" Her tone was devoid of warmth and she handed him a clipboard without a greeting. David felt a pang of frustration as he realized he was being treated as an inconvenience, unlike the warm welcome Mr. Kensington had received. He took a seat in the waiting area, observing the interactions around him. A young black couple sat across from him, their expressions mirroring his own weariness. David watched as 3 white customers entered after him, each greeted promptly and ushered to loan officers within minutes. Meanwhile, he and the couple continued to wait, ignored and overlooked. The disparity in treatment was undeniable, leaving David to grapple with the painful reality of discrimination that had infiltrated his bank. As David finally approached Derek's desk, the loan officer's demeanor shifted instantly. The warm smile that had greeted Mr. Kensington moments earlier vanished, replaced by an air of skepticism. Derek gestured for David to sit, his body language closed off as he glanced at the loan application. "Mr. Williams, is it?" Derek asked dismissively, barely making eye contact. David nodded, feeling the tension between them. He had come prepared, armed with a meticulous business plan and impressive financial documentation. Yet he could sense the bias hovering in the air. "I'm applying for a business expansion loan of $100,000, David stated confidently. He began to outline his successful consulting firm, highlighting its profitability and growth potential, but Derek barely glanced at the extensive portfolio David had prepared, flipping through the pages rapidly as if searching for flaws. "You're applying for a loan of that size?" Derek questioned, his tone dripping with disbelief. "Where did you get your business experience?" David took a deep breath, trying to remain calm. "As noted in my application, I have an MBA from Northwestern and 15 years of industry experience, including executive roles at reputable companies." Derek raised an eyebrow, clearly unimpressed. "That's interesting," he replied, his skepticism evident. It was clear that David's qualifications were being undermined purely based on assumptions about his background. Throughout the meeting, Derek's dismissive remarks continued, and David felt his frustration rising. "I believe my qualifications meet your requirements," David countered. "Why would I be considered for a different loan product?" Derek's discomfort grew as David pressed further, challenging the subtle racism that lay at the heart of their interaction. The stakes were high, and David knew he had to stand firm against the discrimination he was witnessing firsthand. As the meeting progressed, David felt the tension in the room escalate. Derek, clearly agitated by David's persistent questioning, shifted uncomfortably in his chair. "I think we've covered enough for today," Derek said, his tone curt. "I'll need to submit this for review, which usually takes 7 to 10 business days." David could hardly believe what he was hearing. "That's interesting," he replied, maintaining his composure. "I noticed Mr. Kensington was told his approval was practically guaranteed during his consultation just earlier. Is there a different process for certain clients?" Derek's face flushed slightly, the irritation palpable. "Every situation is different," he replied defensively. "Mr. Kensington has a long-standing relationship with our bank." "I see," David said, his voice steady. "And how does one establish such a relationship if loan applications are treated differently from the outset?" He could see Derek's patience wearing thin. In a moment of frustration, Derek leaned back in his chair and muttered under his breath, "We're wasting time on this lowlife when we have real clients waiting." David's heart raced as he caught the offensive remark. "I would like to speak with your manager, please," David said firmly, refusing to let the comment slide. Derek's eyes widened in surprise, clearly not expecting David to respond so assertively. "The branch manager doesn't have time for people who can't qualify," Derek retorted coldly, attempting to dismiss David. "I have every right to speak with a manager about my application and your conduct during this meeting," David replied calmly. "I will wait here until they're available." Derek's composure finally cracked. "Security," he called, frustration evident in his voice. David remained seated, determined to stand up against the discrimination he had faced, ready to make his voice heard. As a security guard entered the office, David remained seated, his posture calm yet resolute. The guard, a young man named Alex, looked between David and Derek, clearly puzzled by the situation unfolding before him. David's heart raced, but he maintained his dignity, refusing to be intimidated. "Is there a problem, Mr. Thompson?" Alex asked, glancing at Derek, who was visibly agitated. "Mr. Williams is being confrontational and refuses to leave after his appointment has concluded," Derek explained, painting a picture that starkly contrasted with David's composed demeanor. David turned to Alex, his voice steady. "I've simply requested to speak with the manager about my loan application," he stated. "There's no reason for me to leave." Derek's frustration boiled over. "I'm not going to argue with you. This meeting is over," he snapped, his voice rising. "Requesting to speak with a manager is a standard customer right," David replied evenly. "I'm not being difficult. I'm exercising my rights as a customer." Alex hesitated, sensing the tension in the room. He looked at David, whose calm demeanor contrasted sharply with Derek's hostility. "Sir, I'll need to ask you to come with me," Alex said, still unsure of how to handle the situation. "I'm not leaving until I speak with your manager," David asserted, his voice firm. He could feel the weight of the moment. His determination to confront the discrimination he had witnessed was unwavering. At that moment, Derek's authority crumbled. "You're creating a scene. If you don't leave now, I'll have no choice but to call the police." He threatened, desperation creeping into his tone. David took a deep breath, prepared to stand his ground. "I won't back down. I deserve to be heard, and I will not leave until I have the opportunity to address this issue." The stakes had never been higher, and David knew he had to fight for what was right.